Minnesota Congressman Dean Phillips is in the news this morning. He was tweeting about term limits yesterday, writing, quote, "For goodness sake, what are the family, friends, and staff of Senators Dianne Feinstein and Mitch McConnell doing? A tremendous disservice. It's time for term limits for Congress and the Supreme Court and some basic human decency."
Joining us for reaction is internist at Custom Care Medical, Dr. Frank Contacessa. Dr. Frank, thanks for joining us. Here's Senator Mitch McConnell yesterday at an event in Kentucky.
What are your thoughts on running for re-election in 2026?
What are my thoughts about what?
Running for re-election in 2026?
That's
Did you hear the question, Senator? Running for re-election in 2026? All right, I'm sorry, you all. We're going to need a minute. Senator Benny.
That's his Secret Service representation.
Yeah.
Not there.
Dr. Frank, it's hard to watch that. You know, this is the second time we've seen something like this happen. I know you haven't treated him, but what do you think's going on here with him?
Well, good morning, Robin Allison, and I can only go by observing the video as we're all doing. And again, this is the second time. So what I see is a couple of things. I know I've read some of the coverage, and his staff was saying that, oh, well, he felt lightheaded. I don't really see that. You know, typically with lightheadedness, people, the blood pressure can drop and you start to wobble. They can lose their balance. They have to sit down or they might even fall. I don't see that here. He looks fairly steady on his feet. Makes me think of something more like a petit mal seizure, which, you know, people think of seizures. They think of the big grand mal seizures that you kind of see where people shake violently. This is a petit mal seizure, or potentially, where you just kind of zone out for a moment and then you kind of slowly come back to it. It could be something like a TIA, a transient ischemic attack, also known as a mini stroke. But with that, you often see, you know, transient or temporary deficits. They might slur their speech. You might see a drooping of the face, the muscles of the face. So it's tough to know exactly what's going on, but clearly there's something going on because this is the second time. We don't know if this has happened off camera. So there's really reason for concern here.
That's a good point. We have no idea if something like this has happened behind closed doors, but this is the second time it's happened publicly in 2 months. I can just say, you know, we've been covering Mitch McConnell for a long time. He doesn't look good physically, and he's lost a lot of weight. And it's just, it's sad for the people of Kentucky, but it's also, you know, this is a political comment, but, you know, if he's unable to do his job effectively, that's a disservice to all of us. What else do you think could be going on with him?
Well, again, it's tough to say. I don't know his medical background, but when something is episodic like this, it really requires a full workup. I would hope after the first episode that he saw a neurologist, maybe a cardiologist, had a brain scan, either a CT or an MRI, and we should be able to see those results. You know, he's the minority leader of the Senate. He's making decisions or helping make decisions for all of us. We have similar restrictions on airline pilots because we put our lives in their hands.
Right.
Doctors, you know, all kinds of workers have responsibility for dealing with the lives of others. And you'd have to take medical exams. You know, pilots have to go through a rigorous FAA screening. So I think that's fair. These people are in charge of making decisions for us. We should have some sort of a competency test.
Dr. Frank, we want to ask you about two other politicians. I'll start with President Biden. As a physician, when you observe him, as you've observed him over the last 2 years, what do you see?
Well, as we observe him over the last, 40 years, if you look at video of him just from even a few years ago, we can all see a decline. We see it just from observation. Certainly, there appears to be some form of dementia happening. He goes into episodes of a blank stare. You can see it in his gait. You can see it in his eyes. He's often got a sort of a squinty expression. These are classic signs. None of them are definitive to make a diagnosis. But if you put them all together, I think we can infer, and we all see, that there's some sort of a decline, some form of dementia.
Yeah, we also have Dianne Feinstein, who's 90 years old as well. So we're talking about three politicians, who are in power that it comes into question. And we always say it's not about age. It's about your cognitive ability and what's really going on and how you can do your job. Dr. Frank Contacessa.
I saw a meme yesterday. It showed a picture of Mick Jagger and Mitch McConnell side by side. They're only a year apart. And the stark difference between Mick Jagger, still strutting around the stage, at 80 years old
Great point.
versus Mitch McConnell. And, you know, it's a clear
Still
difference.
performing.
It's not about age. It's about competency.
Right.
Still
Look at Trump
performing,
and Biden. Trump's only a couple years younger than Biden.
Yeah, it
Very
is.
different.
And Mick Jagger still performing. Doesn't forget his lyrics or anything like that. He's 80 years old, same age as the president. Great point. Dr. Frank, we'll do it again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
All right.